Maybe this will work. Tiling ground smudge? Sure. See what it looks like. Alright, so we got our two texture samples. Alright, so we need landscape blend and excuse me. Sorry about that. So we need landscape. God, I really don't like their animated GIFs. It's like, just give me the damn the data sheet. So we need the layer blend, layer sample, and the landscape grass output. Because what I don't like about having their animated GIFs is sometimes the animated GIF thing that they have will do something else. You know, like they'll say like grab these 3 things, but then like the animation will have it actually grab like 4 things, and you're like, oh crap, because you missed like that last bit of the animation or something. It's like, I don't like animations. Alright, so select the landscape layer blend node, and under the details panel, add 2 new layers, clicking the plus icon. Alright, so add 2 layers to it. Alright, so we're going to have dirt, and we're going to have grass. And we want the preview weight, supposedly, to be 1. And connect this to our layer blend here, like so. And that should go into our base color. Select the landscape grass output in the node, and we need to add the grass type. Yeah, and see, they've got this animated GIF, and the animated GIF is doing stuff that the documentation doesn't say it. Like, they're actually naming it grass and stuff like that. I hate it when they do this. It's like, just give me the damned data. You know, write it down, please. Please, God, write it down. Don't make me watch instructions. Make me read instructions. Select the grass that we created, and the material, load the actor currently in there. So grass type should be in here, so we got this test grass type. Select the landscape layer sample, and we want to connect this into grass. Alright, so I just like how we have this doing absolutely nothing. It's like, well, What's it doing then? I guess this layer blend node and this grass node work together somehow. Alright, so in order to see the grass system in action, we need to apply the material we created in the first step to the landscape and use the landscape painting tools to define where we want the grass to be spawned. Okay, so I think we can close this. Alright, so select the landscape actor that we will be placing. Locate the material, alright, and just assign the material. Alright, so we got the test grass material. Supposedly this should look a little different, so I'm going to go ahead and build the lighting and see if it has anything to do with the lighting. Alright, in the modes of landscape, we want to select paint. There's dirt and grass. Alright, so we're supposed to make these weight blended layers. And then we're supposed to select the info by clicking on it and pressing the arrow key. Alright, so we're supposed to apply them. Alright, well it already applied, so we're good to go there. Why is this grass looking like nothing? Alright, select the grass target layer, then inside of your viewport, hold the left mouse button to begin painting. So we select grass, and then we can just paint. Like so. So if we paint our stuff, there we go. See, this is what I was more expecting for grass. I was like, I don't need to see the grass to know the grass is there. You know, like I just a simple color will do it for me. It's much more what I was expecting for editing foliage and terrain was, you know, placeholders. And we can have our dirt off over there. Alright. Try to cover the landscape, and the results should look like this. Depending on how powerful you develop PC. Alright, so let's save that. And I guess build it? Well, I mean, we have definitely painted our terrain. But I don't see any grass showing up. So we've got our material. Let's just work backwards here. We've got our texture sample for our grass. See, I think something's going on here where we screwed up our material. So layer dirt, layer grass. Grass is there. Just looking at this real quick, it's got 2 members, and they're just doing it. They're saying grass and grass type should be our grass type here. So let's make sure we've got our grass. So we made our grass type. We set our grass density to I mean, they set it to 400, so why don't we just go ahead and set ours to 400? So they made their field grass mesh. Random rotation, lighting channels, alright. Alright, so supposedly that should do something. And that's what we were looking for with grass, but it's not filling up very far into the camera. That's what it looks like. Okay, there we go. This is more what I'm looking for. Alright, we definitely don't need near as much grass density. So let's go to this guy and say, so I'm editing right here, so you can edit this grass density here, and you can see it's changing. So we can say like 40, Alright, and we want the cull distance to be like really far. Yeah, right now I'm messing around with the grass density stuff. I'm just playing around with a couple of the settings. So the only reason why it looks kind of weird at the end there is just because it looks all sorts of bad. But this area right here is interesting. What's basically happening is this is usually you use something like triplanar texturing in order to deal with issues like this, but basically as a height map scales up, there's not as much distance along it, and as a result, it may be two different things. It may be the normal of the surface is making these appear smaller or not. So why don't we uncheck align to surface and see if that fixes some of this. I'm just wondering what we can do about that little area right there. And is it just that it's too steep, so we need to flatten it out? Because we can go ahead and do that. Oh, that was paint. I want to paint grass. I want to go to sculpt, smooth. Yeah, kind of the sloped portions just look meh. So let's say re-topology automatically adjust landscape vertices and XY offset to improve vertex density on cliffs, reducing texture stretching. Yeah, so this would be where we'd want to re-topologize, perhaps, because if we're getting these gaps here, it's going to be because of the vertex stuff. Like, how this grass stuff's going to be working is it's going to be using the verts to do it. Alright, so we've got grass. Like, I'm actually... Like, yeah, this grass is working, I think, a lot better than the stuff we had. Is this two different landscapes or something? Why is there this odd chunking right here? Yes, the dirt is shiny. We have extremely shiny dirt. Well, let's rebuild the lighting. And let's remove the collision on these things. Alright, so lighting has been rebuilt. I'm not seeing any performance issues with that grass. I mean, there is the issue with this stuff spawning in real quick, but I'm not really sure that's going to be too much of a problem. Let's see. Thank you for following, Johnny Reed. Johnny Reed! No. We're trying to figure out all the grass stuff and all that. Kind of one of the last things I want to take a look at is when we do click the play button, all this grass does spawn in. Now the question would be, is there any way we can kind of prevent that from happening? Because this is our grass actor thing. We have used grid and all that. We have our grass material. Let me see if there's anything we can do about the grass spawning. I mean, what's clearly happening here is we spawn in, it just chunks tons and tons of grass. And what I want to do is have that, I want to wait for that. How are you spawning grass at the moment? Well, what I've done is I've set up, basically when we go to painting the landscape, we're painting dirt and we're painting grass as layers. And basically those layers get passed into our material, which we apply to our landscape. So I've got this dirt layer and this grass layer. And what those do is they go to this we have this test grass mesh, test grass object, and this is the material we have applied to the landscape. It's basically, we have this layer blend, so it's got the dirt layer, and it's got the grass layer, and so that's where it's figuring out the layer blending. And then we have this grass thing here. I'm not really sure exactly what this does, but it's a node for Unreal. You basically, it'll take the grass type, and then it will apply it based on, I'm guessing, the UV coordinates in some sort of other thing inside of the material system. Because it's not applying it to the actual material, it's spawning a whole bunch of little grass things on top of the terrain based on the mesh. So what that does is we can fill out, all the grass without having to go paint on like 200 million pieces of individual foliage. This will nicely cover the entire landscape. And the issue I'm having is they don't spawn in very quickly. And the question is, why? Let me just see this real quick. I'll save this level out. I'll change my settings for the maps and modes. I'll have it actually boot up this grassland at night. And then maybe I can make a release build real quick and see if it has the same sort of performance characteristics. Alright, well, we can at least detach Visual Studio and try that again. And I am not sure how long this takes. So let's see. Well, I'm going to read up on the grass stuff while I wait here for a minute. Wow, it is windy as heck outside. Security cameras are getting tripped by the branches of a tree that's like 10 feet above it. Alright, looks like we have made a successful build. So let's go to this thing. It says we finished building it, so let's double click it, open it. So this is a full release build of the same thing. As you can see, we're having some issues with those clipping on the mountains. And we had the terrain getting built out. Anyway, that's how you build a shipping build. Have I done any scaling to the mesh? Well, the landscape mesh how come we can't select certain things? Do I have some weird... Alright, yeah, here we go. I'm actually going to go back here and mess with these mountains real quick. I'm going to move so they're not all horribly clipping all over each other. So landscape mesh itself, we've got the landscape, and that is at 1600 by 200. So, and we did that just inside of when we were placing the thing to begin with. Because we don't need all the crazy verts or anything else. But we haven't done anything else. So let's see. Grass spawning in slowly based on that? Well, this appears to just be... I can kind of see how it's going, but it's going from... Like, I wonder if I set my camera over to, like, my starting position over to kind of the corner. If I pop in, yeah, you can see it's coming from, like, the far back left, and it's going way forward, and it's like not spawning in everything all at once when it probably could. So yeah, if I threw my camera all the way to the right side of this, it just looks like it's, you know, it's not a performance issue. Like we got, you know, 70 FPS and like 120 FPS when we're playing here, and it's real slow. So yeah, I guess it's something in the engine is saying, oh, don't so aggressively spawn grass. We don't need to do that. Do you have a link to that bug? If you could PM me that, and I could take a look at it. Bug related to scaling landscape and grass spawning slowly. Alright. So I tried getting this in the forum. This was what, 2015? As per my findings, changing the grass mesh and using lower density to do anything. My level is 250. Grass mesh less than 40 triangles. Probably some sort of engine bug. Will not play inside the editor. I could literally be at the start button, camera, grass all there, and I hit play. The grass would clear instantly, very slowly load back in. As soon as I stop play, it'll load up instantly. Alright. In order to assist you with the bug, I'm going to a bit more information. Sorry for the delay. Been at home. Creating a landscape mesh with the following settings. Create a landscape material and apply it. He's got 4 different types of grass inside of it. The notable thing about the material of the grass types, it doesn't have to be 4. I'm trying to match my real project environment. The process is different than one suggested in the workflow. Landscape material using makes no difference. The big culprit is the landscape scale. Alright, I did read your repro steps and tried to respond by letting you know that your workflow is incorrect. Therefore, you are going to experience some issues. Scaling your landscape, especially one of the size 32 by 32 with all of your foliage placed in the same material layer, is definitely going to cause an issue. Scaling your landscape is not suggested as it will cause all types of errors. It's best to create the correct scale at the beginning and stick with that. As for the load times, there's also mentioned that documentation is to be expected, especially with the test you have provided as all your meshes are being spawned on the same material layer. I'm not really satisfied with the response here. Let's see. I mean, scaling your landscape, I mean, what is he talking about? Like, we haven't... While not playing inside the editor, the grass loads just fine. I can literally do... I don't understand why this should definitely not cause issues like this. Especially like we just made a release build and all that. It also happens on a package build, not during the editor, not in the editor during painting. However, I see those. All right, so let's assume that they're correct. I mean, this is a 1 by 1 by 1 scaled thing. And that's kind of the thing, is we didn't scale our landscape separately. We scaled it, like we made it when we placed it all correctly. So, alright. Well, let's try building everything. This guy is a much larger landscape. Alright, reduce the landscape scale to 25 by 25 by 20 by 100. Place somewhere in the middle. Observe how the grass tiles slowly creep towards you. I mean, basically what's going on, he has a whole bunch of grass stuff, and yeah, we did the same thing with a layer blend. Each sample contains your own grass. Scaling your landscape non-uniformly is going to cause all sorts of problems and is not recommended. My production material does sample layers. The above step is for testing. This is not the solution. I've tried it. Yeah. Why was it accepted? As I said, my real terrain doesn't put all the meshes anywhere. It samples layers. The behavior is absolutely identical. How is it a solution? Like, who accepted the solution? Yeah, and this other one is what, from 6? Yeah, this is 6 days ago. When you use a landscape with a default scale, the grass is instantly there, where it will take around 20 seconds on a scaled landscape. There's no difference in the amount of grass that is loading. Do you know any kind of workaround to use grass types also on scaled landscapes? They are slowly loading in the segments of the landscape. Well, let's vote. Let's add a thing into it to say we want that answer too. Alright, so we're going to just create a scale of 100, 100, 100. And we're going to increase the number of quads. So let's see. Now let's do a 32 by 32, sort of like that. So this will be landscape 2. And we're going to want to do the same thing. We're going to want to change the landscape material to test grass material. Landscape 1. Let me see. Can we just like actor hidden in game? Alright, so we're going to hide that normal thing. And we'll grab this guy. We've got the grass material, so let's go to our landscape. We'll go to landscape 2. We're going to want to paint it with the grass texture. There's no layer assigned, you must create it. Alright, so let's go ahead and create the weight blended layer. Alright, this will be dirt layer info 2. And it's just frozen? So I mean, very obviously that what's happening is when it's spawning in these objects, it's just taking forever. It's not affecting our frames per second, so there's something built into the engine which is causing this to go very slowly. And that's not that much grass, to be honest. Like, it's just not very aggressive in how quickly it's spawning stuff in. Like, it's spawning it in, but, you know, it's doing it, it's very clearly doing only a certain amount each frame, or something like only one grid square at a time, as opposed to spawning in even more grass. And the scale has nothing to do with this. Very clearly there. You know, it's the same thing here. And the only reason it's actually taking less time here is because it's scaled, because we have less, you know, grid squares for our map.